I hereby sentence you to serve 125 years.
Have you got the right case?
Columbia Pictures presents Gene Wilder and Richard
Should
Pryor
have my head overhauled for listening to you.
together again in Stir Crazy.
I can't feel nothing in my leg.
One's a little too good. One's not quite bad enough.
They got this Korean doctor just set foot in this country. Make sure you don't get him.
That's right.
He's the one made the mistake on me.
Korean.
How do you go?
That's the cat did me.
Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor in Stir Crazy. Only these two guys could dress up like woodpeckers and get framed for robbing a bank. Stir Crazy.
That's right, we bad.
Imagine all the possibilities if the whole world was...
And welcome back to the Film Reel Cast. It's episode 163. That's right. And we've got a real corker today. We've got Stir Crazy 1980, which means obviously we can't do an 80s film without one person in particular being there. And that's right, you've guessed it, folks. It's Paul. How you doing?
Oh, is it me? Oh, I feel so embarrassed.
How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. You?
Fantastic. Yeah, all good, all good. And of course, we're joined by the very sexy, the very tight like a tiger, Neil. How you doing, buddy?
Oh, I'm good, mate. Thanks. Always tight like a tiger. You obviously haven't seen me for a long time.
Oh, I've seen you, mate, on Instagram. Don't you worry about it. I know what I'm talking about. I can
What
say
can
it
we
with
say about
confidence.
Stuart? Oh, what can
God.
we say about Stuart?
The
He's
least
just the
the better.
sexiest man
yes.
in the world, isn't he?
Stroke point like a Poindexter.
Whatever you say will probably be under caution or something like that. So, Stir Crazy 1980. And what a classic this is. Oh my God. This is your choice, Paul. Tell me about
Yeah,
it.
it
Tell me
was.
why.
Well, for one reason, we watched, we reviewed See No Evil, Hear No Evil a couple of weeks ago. And I think everyone agreed that it was a great film. I'm not sure everyone had seen it before. But this is one of those films like See No Evil. It's just sometimes it pops on in the afternoon on a Sunday, all through, my childhood and, into my teens and stuff. And you sit down, watch it, and you might not see it for 3 or 4 years. And every time you see it, you see something new. And it's always funny. The chemistry that Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder have between them is amazing. They're both cracking characters, and the humour hits you from the second it starts to the second it finishes. And you have ups and downs in it and a bit of romance towards the end of this film. But on the whole, it's an absolute scream. So we couldn't not do this one.
Exactly. And you love it on the whole. So
Yeah, it felt good on the whole, didn't it?
Without, exactly. I think on the whole, everyone got plenty of enjoyment out of this. You're never too old to do on the whole jokes, are you?
You can't
Let's
let it
face
go, though, can you? If someone says it, you have to do it. It's just...
I know. Even when I'm in meetings at work
You're
and someone
such
says,
a
"Well, on the
tool."
whole," I just
No,
want to
you've
start
got
laughing.
You love
Yeah.
it on the whole.
just giggling in your chair.
It's so good. It's so good.
I had a mouthful of water and I've got 3 laptops in front of me. It's never good.
It's brilliant. I love it. You squirted. But this is the second film these two did together, wasn't it? The first one obviously being Silver Streak, and then
Yeah.
it worked so well. And then it obviously went on to Stir Crazy. And then you've got, as they did the other week, See No Evil, Hear No Evil. And obviously they did another film as well, which completely bombed, which was Another You, which was the, like, in a kind of way, like the mysterious Don't Talk About full film, which they made. Which,
Right. Didn't know that.
yeah, I think it had a budget of around 17 million. I think it made about 5 million, and it's Richard Pryor plays like a released mental patient, and I think Gene Wilder is like a con man, and people mistake Richard Pryor for being this really rich guy, and they abuse that trust, and it really, really bombed at the cinema. It didn't even get the own money back, and the budget was only 17 million. So
Have you seen it, Stu?
I've seen clips of it on YouTube.
Where can I find it? I
because-
want to see it.
Oh God, I'm not going to work that hard to try and see it, to be
Car
honest.
boot sale.
But I've read the reviews about it, and there's
Yeah.
lots of things on IMDb that it just
Right.
looks shocking. But yeah, there are clips on YouTube. Yeah, it's called Another You. And
Still
I think it's
seeing
in.
1991.
Yeah, pretty sure it's 1991.
It
But
was.
It took a while, didn't it?
yeah, so it's pretty shocking. But
You can watch it on Prime if you want, but it's £2.50.
Oh, I'm
There you
sure
go.
I'm sure I can afford that.
I'm sure
Well,
you could, you rich bastard.
Well, £2.50 ain't gonna break the bank, is it?
well, not your bank,
£2.50 or
mate.
chicken
Not now.
nuggets. Ooh.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The Scrooge McDuck Bank of bloody Paul. Nothing will break into that, I tell you. But I
Moving
didn't
on.
realise that I've watched this film so many times that I never realised Sidney Poitier was the actual director of this. And
Was he?
yeah, it's
Let's have a
quite
look.
incredible. Yeah, quite incredible. I mean, I didn't know he directed so many films, and he has directed a hell of a lot of films, Sidney Poitier. I think this was his 7th film that he directed. Um, I mean, obviously, a lot of the films he did, I mean, you're going back to 1976, 77, 63 for the films he directed. I must admit, ignorance plays a part in this. I don't really know any of them apart from this film. But the cast is really good. Oh, before we go into that, just a question that we've all said that the chemistry is so good between these two guys. It really is electric through the 3 films especially. And we've done other films where we've spoken about the chemistry, and you've got Rush Hour, you've got Lethal Weapon, and things like that. Would you say, out of the chemistry that we've done for all the films, that is these two, Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor, are they the best, or would you say that Mel Gibson? I know they're different types of films, but that feels the most natural and enjoyable to watch. Who would you say?
Lethal Weapon, you've got Mel Gibson and Danny Glover doing several films, haven't you? So do you see that chemistry develop over time? Is it, does that sort of nurture over time, or is it instant? I can't really compare the two because you've only got 2-3 films these guys have done.
But yeah, I know it's really difficult, and obviously the one's police genre with regards to shooting and stuff like that. But it's just, I love this chemistry, and this works. It's got a real feel good factor. And again, but I know if I watched Lethal Weapon, I'd get sucked back into the chemistry of Danny Glover and Mel Gibson, which was
It's different though,
equally
isn't it? They are. I suppose actually, Danny Glover and Mel Gibson are chalk and cheese, as are Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder. They're very different characters. Richard Pryor is the Joker, the comedian, and we got Danny Glover, and Gene Wilder, who's this soft romantic who smiles and the women fall for him. And he's kind of like the straight man, isn't he? And you've almost got the opposite with Danny Glover. Like Danny Glover's the straight man, and Mel Gibson's the Joker, isn't he?
Yeah. It's tricky, isn't it?
I think these two are probably closer. I think these two are probably gelled more because of their experiences.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because reading lots of different things about this and seeing lots of interviews, that Richard Pryor he was the first guy to he got $1 million for doing this. He was the first black actor to ask for $1 million and get $1 million for an acting part in a film. And apparently, from reports that I've read, he was quite a diva and on set, and it was quite difficult to work with. As in, there was an incident, I think it was like a watermelon, where one of the cast and crew were just pissing about, and they threw watermelon, they hit him on the shoe, and he actually ended up getting that guy fired from the set. And he walked off and said, "I'm not going to carry on filming anymore," and had to go back and grovel for him to come back on set and film, which he obviously agreed to do. But it's just quite interesting. I like stories like that. You see them on screen, you see the chemistry, and you have the laughs and the fun. But when the camera stops rolling, I always wonder, are these people assholes or not? What are they like to work with, and how difficult? It always interests me.
Did Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor have a good off-screen friendship?
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they very close. Yeah, really good off-screen friendship.
I have seen photographs of them off-screen, but like a photograph isn't really the story, is it? It just tells a snapshot. But yeah, okay.
I could take a photograph of you working and people believe that you're a hard, conscientious worker, but little do they know you're a lazy bastard. The photograph doesn't say nothing, as you quite rightly said.
Yeah, where's my pen? Stewie. Right. Anyway, moving on.
Arsehole.
Moving on.
So,
On the list.
Neil, had you seen this film before we'd done it?
No, I'd never seen it. I'd never seen it before. I thought I had, but watching it, I realised I've never seen it. No.
'Cause we built it up quite a bit for you, didn't we? I suppose.
Well, yeah. I mean, this wasn't even out. This was out before I was born. So this isn't something that I've ever seen. I've heard of it, but I've just never seen it. I've obviously seen Hear No Evil, See No Evil, and the other one that they've done.
Yeah.
But I don't recall this one at all. So yeah, no, I watched it for the first time the other day.
Enjoy it?
Yes and no. I think See No Evil, Hear No Evil was a much better film than this. I've got to be honest. But
That'd be
I think
interesting. Be interesting to work out why, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So, I mean, go for it, mate. Go on.
No. It's just I think in certain parts of this film, it felt overacted, especially by Gene Wilder, and I didn't enjoy it. And for a long time, I sort of didn't. It didn't seem like it was going anywhere or what it was about. And though there was funny bits in it, and I'd certainly sitting there laughing.
Yeah.
At certain points, other points of it, I was just, I don't know, it didn't grasp my interest as I'd hoped.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way.
No, I mean, it's going to be good. Differences of opinion then. I mean, I've watched this film so many times, honestly. It's just ridiculous. It was always a family favourite of mine. And my mum and dad just absolutely loved this. And my dad, bless him, just would watch this a lot of the time and we just laugh together. So it's kind of quite nostalgic as well. And
definitely.
The start of it is just really good. And I love the way these films are so simple and they balance the characters. Where you've got, I said before I did it, the cast, you've got Richard Pryor playing Harry Monroe and Gene Wilder playing Skip Donahue. And they play the same kind of characters in Silver Streak and in See No Evil, Hear No Evil, don't they, to a certain extent. Obviously, one's not deaf and one isn't blind, but that wouldn't really work in this.
But other than that, they're exactly the same.
Yeah, other than that, they're exactly the same. But the cast in this is really, really good. It's really interesting as well. Especially when they get into prison, you've got the homosexual black guy who's Rory Schultbrand, who plays Greg Stanford Brown. You've got Jo Beth Williams, who plays Meredith. And you've got an actor who's always plays, is either a soldier or he plays like a sheriff. And that's Deputy Ward Wilson. Who's played by Craig T. Nelson. You see him in loads of films, especially like the Vietnam films. That he's always in films like that. And you've got Jonathan Banks as well as a guy from Beverly Hill Cop. He always plays a baddie. He does. He's that weird guy with a cowboy hat. He doesn't say a lot in this, but he plays.
I didn't realise that was him.
Yeah, he plays like the. I don't know, like the assassin and like the right-hand man in Beverly Hill Cop. He's a weird-looking guy, and he's one of those guys you think I've seen him in something else before, but he's the guy you hire.
No,
Stu, I didn't realise until watching it this time that having seen Poltergeist tons of times, that Craig T. Nelson and Jo Beth Williams were the parents in Poltergeist, and they were both in it, weren't they? Both in this, and Poltergeist too.
She's really good, Jo Beth Williams. I think she's a really great actress, and she's another one who, obviously, back in the day, she was in a hell of a lot of films, and you just recognise her.
Big 80s name.
Oh, very much so. And you've got Ellen Van Lith, who plays Grossberger, and he's a really interesting character. And when you kind of look at his bio, that he's a really, really clever guy. Went to I think it was Stanford. He's got his own computer company. He's a really, really clever guy. He was in wrestling. He was in the Moscow Olympics. He was wrestling there. I think it was the Moscow Olympics. And then his family are all kind of operatic singers. So when he was singing that part in the prison a bit later on, that was actually him singing it, which is really strange. But yeah, he's 6'6", an absolute brute. And yeah, it was he kind of come across Sidney Poitier because he did acting school and he had the script, and due to his size he got the part. And he also plays Dynamo in The Running Man,
He does, yeah.
Yeah, and he sings in that as well, doesn't he? So
He does. He's dead, unfortunately. He died in the 80s as well.
it's
Tragic.
Very sad.
such a shame, isn't it?
He was only
Yeah, he's a
34.
monster. Seriously, what, when he
Yeah.
died?
Yeah.
Wow, that must have been just after Running Man then.
Yeah, 1987 he died. So.
Damn, that's a shame. And
Yeah, that was
also,
the last film, 1987. He did.
oh, seriously?
Yeah.
Oh, that is a shame. But you've got Tony Burton, who plays the Duke in Rocky. Absolute legend of a guy. I was so good to see him in this. I love this guy. But he's in every Rocky film, and he spits all over Stallone's face in Rocky 4 when he's shouting out, "Throw the goddamn towel!" So good. It's such a good film. I love it. But yeah, watch far too much TV. But the start of this is really good. As I was saying, you've got Richard Pryor, who's working as a waiter for these posh people, and it turns out that one of the people has put his top drawer cannabis in all the ingredients, and everyone there, all these posh people, are getting stoned off their tits, aren't they?
That ain't oregano.
Oh, that's hilarious.
It's so good. And you've got this really horny girl talking to this vicar who's completely spaced out of his tits, and he hasn't got a clue what's going on. And it's the look on Richard Pryor's face of when they're having their conversation and she's trying it on with him.
I'm feeling something very strange.
That's my leg.
You know, I've never felt like this before. Now, I'm
Horny?
Mm-hmm.
Yes? You know, which reminds me, there's something I've always wanted to ask someone like you. Do you get much?
Not too often. Just an occasional glass of dinner.
That's not what she meant.
It was brilliant.
Yeah, it's just his expressions. It's just so good. And also, and it flicks between him doing that. And again, he's a really strange character. But when you've got Gene Wilder, who's at the store, and he sees this lady, and he follows her, and he starts talking to her. And the fact that she is so rude to him, and that he's laughing, and he said, "Oh, I saw you playing Juliet in Romeo and Juliet in the park, and that you tried this dress on in this shop, and you binned it, and you've got wearing nothing underneath your coat." And the more rude and aggressive she is, that he's just standing there laughing.
Hi. Hello. Excuse me, dear. May I talk with you for just 1 minute?
Up your kazoo.
Wait a minute, please. I'm not trying to be a pest. I know that you're
You don't get out of my way. I'm going to kick you in the nuts.
Kick in the nuts. By the way, dear, I know that you're not wearing anything underneath that coat.
What?
I also know that you're a shoplifter.
he's again, his expression, the way he reacts to her, is just so good.
I didn't get it.
Didn't you?
No, didn't get it at all. I didn't understand at all because there was nothing about the stolen dress, was there, at the end? It was just the next time you see him was in a bar, unless I missed a bit of the film.
I think it's because he is a writer and he's in plays and he sees her, and the fact that it came across to me that he was a bit starstruck and he was quite attracted to her, and that it's an embarrassing situation for her that she stole his dress, and the fact that she's acting the way she is prompted him to react the way that he was doing it.
Bizarrely though, he is a security guard in the store, so he's challenged her, albeit he's being polite and he's getting a face full of grief. But he got the sack. But surely she's been lifted by the police or whatever for, he suspected that she was stealing stuff. But he got the boot regardless, which was a bit, that didn't kind of work with me. But
no, because you didn't see it, did you? And that's what
you didn't see it. No.
And I was like, and then obviously they go to the bar and it sort of goes on from there, doesn't it? And he's like, "Oh, I got sacked too."
Yeah.
I was just like, for me, because there was no payoff for me, and it was just all very odd and awkward. I found it.
Oh, that's quite interesting. That's quite interesting the way we all reacted differently to that. But as you said, when they go to the bar, they meet up and they've both been fired, which they give zero fucks about. But what's interesting, when they're in this bar, that they're chatting, on the table is a cantaloupe which is cut up in front of them. And then what pub have you ever been to where they've got a slice of cantaloupe on the table, ready for everyone to eat? And who would eat it anyway? I bet it's got piss and everything all over it.
Oh yeah, unless he's ordered his cantaloupe, but I can't imagine.
I don't know if that was that a thing in the 80s that you ordered with a beer?
Maybe.
Cantaloupe and beer, yeah.
Paul, you're old enough. What was it, mate?
Hang on.
Here we go.
Let's get this right.
Here we go.
You were born a month older than me, younger before me. So I don't know, Stewie. Was it?
Oh, I've missed that comment. I missed that, mate.
Let's not forget you're older than me.
Oh, thank you. How could I ever forget that? Every time I know you, mate. You know, every time I speak to you, it's always brought up, isn't it?
Well, only because you bring it up first.
It's like vomit after a curry.
Sweet.
But they do go to this bar where they chat, and there's this really attractive Asian lady who's dancing by this jukebox who's got Richard Pryor's attention because she's wearing an incredibly short skirt, dancing very sexy. And it's great that she walks over and speaks to Gene Wilder, Skip, and kisses him and just says, "Come over to my booth, come and see me." And Richard Pryor shouting out to her his name, trying to introduce himself. And she just doesn't give a shit, does she? And what is it that I'd love to know in this, what it is that Gene Wilder's got, you know, what the women love. Can you ever work it out?
No idea.
Got no idea.
No idea at all. Other than the fact he's really sweet and nice and see the best in people, I guess. I don't know.
He's got this look about him, hasn't he? He's got this sweet, nice, innocent look about him. I think if I try to pull that face, I'd probably get in trouble.
But it's funny because you've got the taxi driver, Chico, and this businessman who comes in who feels he's been ripped off. And as he walks over to intervene, because they're talking about this town is full of scum. It's just a town of hatred. And he believes that he can go over there and diffuse this situation and make these two people friends. I mean, he's completely naive, isn't he?
Oh, God, yeah. Yeah, like I say, he sees the best in everyone, doesn't he? And just thinks that if people talk, that everything can be resolved.
Which is the opposite to what Pryor thinks, isn't it?
But he did kind of resolve it, didn't he? He did kind of resolve it.
He didn't resolve anything.
No,
he had him by the nuts.
Yeah, he had a
but he released
He
it. He got his money. The taxi driver got his money, and the guy got his nuts back.
It was nothing to do with Mr. Wilder, I don't think.
But that was funny. That was very, that's a very funny sketch.
That looks so painful. The fact that he's over there and he says, "You don't want to hurt him, and you don't want to hurt this man, do you? And let's introduce yourself." And the guy's got beads of sweat going down his face. He's got his nuts in a bloody vice. Oh, can you imagine how painful that would be? Jesus.
Exactly.
But that's a funny scene. I like that. And the fact he's so stupid, he doesn't realise what's actually happening. And he walks away, chest puffed out, that he's diffused these two guys fighting each other. It's just ridiculous, but it's funny. Or is it? Is it funny? I thought the last one was funny, but clearly it wasn't.
It is funny. It is funny because it's the naivety of it, isn't it? And it is the acting of the guy with his nuts in the pair of pliers is brilliant.
Yeah,
when he's trying to say his name and stuff like that. It is a funny scene. I can't disagree.
Yeah.
Did you think they decided to go away and hit the road basically and make their money, getting away from the hustle and bustle and the shit that's happened in New York, and they stop up at this bar? And it's kind of like a cowboy restaurant, like a redneck place, basically. And I'm surprised that Richard Pryor's sitting in there. Oh, yeah. And you've got that, like a speedball, haven't you? And you've got these two guys on there. And again, everything's so quaint in Gene Wilder's mind, isn't it? That he can walk over to anyone and everyone's got a story to tell. And he believes that for some reason they want to tell him it, don't they? Doesn't
It's like he has a healing power that he can assess that, you know. Yeah.
But he
big
believes
foreshadow in that scene, though, isn't there? Where he's punching the bag and you see the tattoo for the first time.
Oh, you do, of course you do, yeah. And they're the most antisocial guys that you can speak to. And the fact he went over to him, did you feel that it was too much a repetition of the bar scene, or not really?
It was almost like a build, wasn't it? It was just it was almost like it was adding to his character, just showing a pattern of how he responded to people.
Why did he do it? Why did he go over there? And not that being camp is a bad thing, but he acts extremely camp, doesn't he? And he's in a redneck bar with two cowboys that are beating the shit out of a punch bag. It just, I get it, but it didn't do anything for me.
You think it was,
to be honest,
unnecessary?
I understood it was needed for the story. It doesn't make any sense.
Because I get the impression that he's possibly never done a day's work, like proper work in his life, and he's quite educated, a clever guy, and that he's the opposite of working class. So he doesn't understand how working class function, whereas Richard Pryor obviously does, and that's why he walks over to these people, because I think it's a lot of fascination and thinks that these people have got more to them than working class, because Richard Pryor's got several different layers, but these people obviously haven't, which he finds out. But there is a bit of naivety, but I think it kind of it adds to his character that he writes plays. That's what he does. He doesn't work. But
later on, when he's in prison, he's talking to his counsel. She says, "Oh, this is something like the kind of stuff that happens to the underbelly of society." It's like, well, I'm not the underbelly.
Yeah.
So he doesn't accept that he is of the same class or lower class, does he?
No, and even when they're there, what they do is they get a job in a bank, which is just singing and promoting the bank, wearing woodpecker outfits. So. And to him, this is work, but to everyone else, this is just a shit job that you do that you'd be embarrassed to do. But for him, this feels like hard work, because I don't think he's properly done a day's work in his life. And they do the song in the bank, and everyone's singing, the kids are enjoying it, and the people are engaged, and they're not really focusing on what their purpose is at the bank. And then you see, as you do in loads of different films, because the audience is stupid, that they hang the outfits up, and these other people grab it. And it's the tattooed guys that you spoke to in the bar, funnily enough. And they go and sing their song. No one in the bank's interested, because we need to be told as a stupid audience, don't we, that it's not the same people.
Yeah.
And I always find that really annoying. I don't know the way you feel.
I mean, why would they even have to do the sing and dance? They could just walk in there, couldn't they, with the outfits on and just hold up the bank.
And how many times did they go in there to learn the song?
Well, yeah, because I thought the whole point I thought that it was Skip's idea to do it. There was nothing. Maybe I got it wrong. I didn't think he saw a job advertisement. I thought his idea was that he'd make some skit up for the bank and get, I don't know. Maybe I've got that wrong. So yeah, how they load the words, I don't know. But
Paul, what's your take on that, mate?
Again, I don't know. There was nothing to lead up to it. No idea whose idea it was.
No, it's a bit strange, isn't it?
It is, but it regardless of that, it still flowed.
Oh yeah, it still flows. And I was thinking about this when I was watching it again today, that I think in this film, obviously, there's been so many good prison films about, and they're all of a general standard of, what's going to happen. You've got Mr. Big, you've got someone who's either innocent and they have a massive character arc whilst they're in prison, and they go in as naive and they come out really streetwise and strong, and they get their justice. But this film, I don't think you can take the prison side of it seriously.
No.
I think if you do, I think it's really going to ruin this film, I think, isn't it?
You're right.
Yeah. Well, you have to take this as a silly film, because that's what it is, isn't it? It's silly. It's just, I don't know, there's just a few. I haven't got an issue with Richard Pryor's character at all, in a sense, and I get Gene Wilder's character, but it felt forced. And though it is funny, I couldn't engage with his character.
I mean, about 70% of this was ad-lib by both of them. They knew the
Was
direction.
it really?
I figured, I figured that. Yeah.
It just seemed odd.
Yeah, they very rarely stuck to script on this whatsoever.
after seeing them, I've not seen the '91 film, but after seeing the other films that they've done together, I think if you're watching this, like maybe not when it came out, but if you're watching this and have seen the other previous films, you kind of know what you're signing up to. You know it's going to be a silly film. You know it's going to not necessarily be. It's just going to be a hoot. Those two guys pissing around, and that's what they do best.
Yeah, and that's what I love, because they obviously, these guys have robbed the bank. It's clearly not Gene Wilder. It's clearly not Richard Pryor, but they get arrested. They go back to the bank. And again, it's their naivety. The police are outside. Pryor wants to go, but Gene Wilder wants to go and find out what it is, and they get arrested, which leads to a scene which, I mean, as everyone knows who's listened to this, and again, I meant to mention this earlier, 50,000, over 50,000 downloads this month. It's been another record-breaking month for us. It gets bigger and bigger, and I know I speak for everyone. We're all so grateful for everyone and amazed who listens to this podcast. So definitely. If you're listening to this, thank you so much. Honestly, it's brilliant. And I play the sound clips because I enjoy doing it, and it helps people get into the podcast. And I could honestly play this whole scene when they're in the prison, or when they're in the county lockup, because they're walking there, and it's so true, and I can relate to this, that they have to get bad, put on a persona, and it's just brilliant. It fucking cracks me up at how stupid two grown men act trying to be really tough.
We're bad. Take no shit. But you know, the slightest little twitch of anyone in there, they're going to be crapping themselves.
That's right, we bad, huh? That's right. We don't want no shit either. That's right.
Darn right.
We don't want no shit.
You understand? We don't take too much shit. Take a little bit. We don't take no bunch of shit. Damn right.
That's right, say no shit.
No shit.
That's right, no shit. No, I'm trying again.
We don't take no shit.
And they do.
Yeah.
Everyone's just looking at them. It's hilarious.
We bad.
What the fuck are they doing? It's genius.
Bouncing along. Oh man, it's great.
This is where the chemistry is at its best, isn't it? This is where they're being stupid. You couldn't script this utter nonsense that they're doing, the stupidity, could you? The walk, they lift your hands up, and when he gets into the cell, and all these people just turn around, and there's a mixture of like cowboys, pimps, gangsters sitting down in this slammer, and they all just turn around and look at them. And then for some reason, Gene Wilder starts doing karate.
I think, he annoyed me a little. This got a bit too much. But Richard Pryor's reaction to him pretending to be a martial artist was the best bit. Because he's just looking at him at the corner of his eye going, what the hell are you doing?
This goes back to what you were saying earlier on, Neil, that like it's overacting, or that you might have said it's, but it's good. He's pushing it. He's pushing the boundary, isn't he? And that's probably part of their ad lib. You know, it might have been that he just sort of decided to pop on and do that. You know, but it is pushing it. But still, it's an absolute scream watching him do that.
Definitely, it was still funny. It was just so random, and I just found it a bit cringy. And then I noticed Richard Pryor, and it made it for me. In the sense of, oh mate, the fact that you're, instead of joining in or whatever, he's just looking at him like bouncing along next to him, thinking, "Fucking hell, what are you doing?" I'll go with it.
Yeah,
it's just
and you always find, and I found this when I watched Silver Streak and See No Evil, Hear No Evil. I love looking at the characters in the background. Because they look at both of these, and in this part they look at Gene Wilder, not expecting what he's doing, and they've got the same expression as Richard Pryor has, as if like, okay, I'll go with it, but I don't know where it's going.
But fair play to them, no one laughed. I'm always looking to see if there's someone turning the corner up at their side of their mouth, but no one did.
No, they stayed there, don't they? They obviously, the director must have said, look, we don't know what they're going to do, just stay in character.
There's an only Fools and Horses moment with that lampshade coming down. Do not twitch.
It's brilliant. It's addictive viewing. And then you've got that guy who's a little bit bonkers looking at that fly, and which I can't even see, and it lands on Tony Byrne. It lands on the Duke's head, and that's when Gene Wilder just slaps him on the head, and he turns around and goes, "Did you get it?" And he looks, and he punches or goes to punch Wilder in the face, and punches this absolute brute of a guy.
Mountain.
Oh, he's a monster.
Yeah.
But how he responds to the mountain, his acting is amazing, isn't it? Just every little twitch of his mouth and his eyes, and at some point he's sweating and he looks away because he's just that worried.
Yeah.
He's trying to because he ruins the guy's cigarette and builds him a new cigarette, makes him a new cigarette, and puts it in his mouth. Open sesame. But his manner, everything was just perfectly acted by him.
But he says "sensimilia," doesn't he?
Yeah.
And and it took me years to work out what that actually meant. But it is great. And then he goes over to both Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder, who at this point are hugging and crying.
Yeah.
That hard man act has cracked instantly.
God.
But I love the fact that Richard Pryor just starts trying to do that hard dance that he's been doing the whole time. Again, he looks like he
wants
himself.
a light. He goes, give me a light. And he goes, the man wants a light. He goes, the man wants a light. He starts rocking his head. Yeah, he wants a light.
So he lights it on his chest.
Yeah.
And then he says, "You're a short ass son of a bitch."
Yeah. My mum was short.
My dad was short.
My brother was so short you couldn't even see him.
Just brilliant. And again, when he's saying this, look at Gene Wilder's face. There's just a big smile as if he's trying to hold it back. And
He is.
Just so good. And this is, for me, this is when it's brilliant, when these two are just put in these strange situations and you think you know how they're going to act, but they go the opposite direction, and they find out that they're in the worst possible state when it comes to going to prison or going to court for bank robbery. And they do get really screwed over, don't they? And that's when we first see Joel Brooks and the lovely Joe Beth Williams, who's, how do you rate them as what are they, solicitors, are they, or would you say they are, or barristers, or I don't know what they are, but
you only see him at the start, don't you? It's only him, I think, isn't it? Yeah, and he's the worst solicitor you can ever get.
He just came straight out of college.
Brilliant. Thanks for saying that, Neil. I thought it was just me, but all he seems to know is talking about filing things, and that's it.
He's basically pleaded guilty for them, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Without even asking them. And he's like, you're not going to get away with it. But don't worry about it. We'll figure it out. It's like, you've been given 125 years. And it's like, what?
Yes. And Gene's expression, his response was fantastic, wasn't it?
Oh, it's so good.
What? What?
Yeah.
He says, "I'll be 161. I get you." Oh, it's so funny. And again, that's kind of like, for me, it's like split into three different acts. That's the first one. The second, or the second, third, whatever you call it, act is when they go to prison, Glenborough Prison. And again, I love this because it gives an excuse for more comedy, and you get that, and you get the tropey prison guards who treat everyone like shit. Obviously, you're going to get that, but you get the walking in the chains. It's the little things of how can you walk in this, and Gene Wilder's all about this is against human rights, and he's starting to learn, or he will learn soon, that where he is, and especially back in the 80s, there was no human rights, was there?
No, and he still thinks he can beat the system. Talking to the prison guards, telling them to stop hitting him, and eventually when he goes to see Barry Corbin, who's the prison governor, thinking that he can reason with him.
Do you think that was naivety? Do you think that was stupid? Where are you on the with regards to where you stand with that?
It's naivety, isn't it?
Yeah,
but
naivety.
It's also, it is stupid because no, surely no one can be that naive. But I suppose that is his character. He is, like you said, he's an actor. He lives in his own fantasy world, doesn't he?
Yeah, definitely, because he that's when they kind of they get a foursome in a certain way. That you get Rory Schultbrand, who's the he's kind of like the transvestite like friend that they make, and you also get I can't remember the other guy's name now. It's Jesus Ramirez, and it's the four of them who really kind of follow Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor through the rest of the film, don't they? And they kind of befriend them in prison, and it's a really weird mixture because you've got Jesus, who's like a family guy, who's been in there. He's in there for bank robbery as well, and he says that they put him in prison for robbing 10 banks, and he says, "I didn't rob 10 banks. I only robbed one." Like, it makes a bit of a difference. And you also learn and it's a really funny scene, much to his disgust, that Rory is in prison for killing his own dad because he slapped his hand, and that's
Yeah, that was good.
That was great.
That's
I think,
yeah.
The scene I didn't particularly like is when they're being taken to the cells. I liked when they were had to do that sort of exam, didn't they? The aptitude test or whatever it was. And the fact that Gene kept getting up and was telling that guard off and saying that when he was a kid he punched someone in the face so hard and all this sort of stuff. And
Yeah.
but when they were going to the cell and they start having those panic attacks, that's when I just thought, oh, this is just too much. You guys probably liked it, but
it was funny, but I couldn't work out what their I kind of guess what their motive was, but it's not going to change anything. So it was just, and that again going back to their, no one else around them reacted, did they? So everyone just stood there waiting, probably not knowing entirely what to do. Or being told, because at some point Gene Wilder jumps to the back of that prison guard. They were just probably told just to go with the flow, and they did. Because I'm guessing that was down to ad-libbing and just them messing around.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. I must admit, I'm kind of on the side of Neil to a certain degree, that it works with Gene Wilder because you can understand. I think any normal person who's the average member of society who does go to prison, you would. Especially a prison like this. I mean, it's like Arizona State Prison, and they actually went and filmed in a real prison. And a lot of towards the end at the rodeo, there are 200 extras who were prison officers, and each day when the unit came out, they had to all walk in single file so they could be identified as production crew and actors rather than prisoners in the prison. Wow. So they were working amongst actual prisoners in a prison. So. And you could understand because the fear, but it did go over the top a little bit. Gene Wilder's works, but when Richard Pryor did it, it was too much of the same joke. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I suppose you've got to put Wilder's down to insanity to a certain degree of what he did, because it was fucking ballsy, wasn't it?
What, jumping on the prison officer's back?
Yeah, slapping the baton out of his hand, jumping on his back.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I got it, but I didn't. I don't know. I just didn't see the point in it. I didn't see the necessity for it, and it just seemed to go on, like you said, Stu, for too long. Especially when Richard decided to just jump in and pretty much do exactly the same thing, and it was just I don't know. It didn't work for me at all, that bit. It made me feel a bit cringy. You know, when you sit there and you watch something, you're thinking a bit.
You're right. It was a bit.
It was
much.
just that was But
no, I completely agree. And from there, you learn about other characters in the prison, and when they're in the canteen or mess hall, whatever you want to call it, having their food, that's when you're first introduced to Grossberger, who, as we spoke about earlier, 6'6", absolute monster, and everywhere he goes, he's like I think in that state or that part of the Southwest America, he's like the biggest mass murderer, isn't he?
Yeah.
He killed loads of people with an axe or something like that. And then he went to kill people who looked like him, and then he just killed random people after that.
It's just nuts.
He's just a monster, and it's the look on Richard Pryor's face when Grossberger walks into the cafeteria is just priceless, isn't it?
Well, and then
Gene Wilder looks at him and starts getting all soppy again and thinks he can fix him.
Where do you stand on that, guys? I'd really like to know, because you've just been told that obviously you're in prison full of people, category A prisoners, the most dangerous in that part of America, and the fact he's done it to the people in the bar and nearly paid the price for that. And he's done it to the prison officer, nearly paid the price, and to do that again. Do you think it's too soon? Too much repetition?
I think it was superfluous. I mean, it's not even if it's part of his character arc, is it? So he doesn't even. It's not as even if there's a payoff at the end where he's learned from it either way, is there?
No.
As far as I can see, so it was almost superfluous. I think maybe that was Grossberger's reaction was important off the back of that. So you saw how aggressive he was in the prison to sort of back up what they'd said about his history. And then that led on to us when they sat down playing cards and later on and everything's fine with him. That kind of the payoff is there. You see, well, obviously that he is he's a fairly decent guy. So you saw how aggressive he was off the back of how Gene was with him. That's the only thing purpose I can see for that scene, because otherwise, like Neil and you've both said, it is superfluous and yeah, irrelevant.
It's predictable.
Really. Predictable, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was just. I think that was just used for foreshadow's sake, to raise the ante for what happens a bit later on when they're trying to be punished, and the punishment set up, or it's supposedly a punishment set up by the Deputy Ward Wilson, who puts Grossberger in his cell, thinking that possibly there's a chance he's going to kill him. And I think that was the only reason they could have done that, isn't it? But,
it is, but that was also predictable as well, wasn't it? You could just see that was going to happen.
Yeah.
When it was introduced, and we'll get to it later, it was hilarious. Their reaction to it, was absolutely brilliant. But it was, I wasn't sitting there thinking, oh, they're going to get themselves murdered or kicked the shit out of. You could just the way the film was going in that particular moment in time, you could just see it. It wasn't going to be an issue.
No, it couldn't have been, because these two, our main heroes as they were, are they're not fighters at all, and it just wouldn't have worked. But you soon learn the main motivations of the prison here, and what's the main kind of character is that they've got a rodeo, and every prisoner tries out for this rodeo, and they go on an electric horse. It's not electric horse, but is it? It's a bull. That's it. And any of you guys have been on one of these bulls that you see in these pubs that's kind of surrounded by like all these kind of inflatables, and it goes around? I've never done it before. I don't know about you guys.
I don't ride bulls.
Time ago.
Yeah, I've seen you do it, Neil. I've seen those videos. I've seen you do a few.
I've not been on one.
No,
I'd imagine it's like riding you.
Well, it'd be very short.
I'd get thrown off in the heats of passion. Yeah.
Be very slow and short, I should imagine. That's how it is. Jesus. But Gene Wilder, being a city guy, goes on there first and predictably gets on there the wrong way around, has no clue of how to approach this thing. And you learn that there's an annual rodeo against another prison, and Greenborough hasn't done very well. And Gene Wilder gets on there, and obviously he's, whether it's through natural ability, whether it's for enjoyment, naivety, or pure luck, he is amazing. And even the deputy pushes it up to the top level, and Gene Wilder, if it's been speeded up fantastically.
Oh, hasn't it just?
Oh God, unbelievably. And he goes top rate for ages on this ball and just doesn't fall off, does he? And the warden has got his man, or so he believes, doesn't
he? Yeah. It is funny. It's just Gene Wilder's face, isn't it? And sorry, Richard Pryor's face, and the fact he gets so excited and starts slapping the prison warden, and then realizes, oh shit, I shouldn't have done that. And it is funny. But again, it's more him. It's more Richard Pryor's character that I found entertaining in it.
Yeah, he just thinks it's entertainment. He's got no idea with regards to the rodeo, and even the warden says that machine malfunctioned, and he just can't do it. But yeah, he's going to use him as a cowboy, and he's going to win. And it's unbelievable the fact of the other people who was a star only got up to level 6. And he got up to, what was it, level 12 or some
He got to
fucking...
level 4, and Gene Wilder got to level 6, which no
That's
one's
it.
done before. Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite funny, and it does lead up to some some funny scenes. But they're in the yard, and it's weird. Some of these other characters are who you've got Blade, haven't you? Who is not really in it, but he has a really funny line later on of when he's at the rodeo talking to Richard Pryor about being a rodeo clown. But he's obviously got some beef with Richard Pryor, and I don't know what that is. Because he threatens to kill him later on, basically, doesn't he, after the rodeo?
Yeah, I have no idea why.
And the only thing I can think of is that they think he's sucking up, or both of them are sucking up to the governor.
They did.
Potentially.
Yeah, they referred to that, didn't they? Someone accused him of sucking up to him.
Oh, right.
That'd be why then.
That would explain it. And you learn from Jesus that the being in the rodeo isn't really a kind of a novelty as you think it is, because it's only about one governor and another governor having that bet, and that they make the money themselves. Nothing gets ploughed back into the rodeo, back into the prison, and the prisoners don't benefit from it. And I like the angle on that, because it could have been different and it wouldn't have been very good payoff for the film. But I mean, the end of this film is quite controversial for me, and there's a whole lot wrong with it.
Yes.
Which I'm sure if we wrote it down and we were in the same room, that we'd probably all come up with the same answers, wouldn't we? But they tell him, Gene Wilder, don't agree to do the rodeo and hold back. And they already come up with a plan to escape. And they must have only been in here, 3 days?
It's not been in there long, have they?
No, we've not had a nighttime scene yet. We've only seen them go into the prison, eating in the cafeteria, then go on the ball. And they're planning to escape. And they already worked out and sussed out this rodeo. And they've got the other scene with the prison governor who's put that bet on. And it's going to be for 50 grand, which obviously back in the 80s was a huge amount of money. I mean, that's probably pocket change to you now, Paul, I should imagine. But
that was his pocket money back in 1980.
It's called dinner money. I'm just jealous because I wasn't brought up in a mansion, so
yeah, well.
Nor was I.
It was bigger.
No, it's a castle.
Yeah, I think you'll find with that many acres, it's a castle, darling.
Moving on.
But they really, really beat Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor, and they get him to do hard labour, and they wake him up at the crack of dawn. And fair play, Gene Wilder really, really gets put through the mill, and poor Richard Pryor suffers because of it, doesn't he?
He gets it as well, doesn't he? Yeah.
He does. He doesn't crack though. Fair play to him. When they're digging that hole, they're really doing hard labour, and they've got the ladles there. And when it's their turn to drink, sensibly Wilder turns it down. Pryor wants it, and it's just got loads of holes in, and which leads to the scene of I don't know if he thinks they're overacting. Sorry.
He's so expressive. It's right. He's so expressive with that, with the ladle thing, right? Isn't he? His mouth is he's unbelievably funny, and then that leads up to my favourite scene. Go on, Stu.
Go for it. You describe it, mate. Go on.
So they go into the cell, and Richard Pryor. They're so knackered. They are so knackered, and Richard Pryor goes to reach for his bed, and he just says, "Pillow." I want my pillow. Just for some reason, ever since I was a kid, that scene, right, with his, I've looked for it on YouTube. I've looked for it on I was trying to get a GIF to send to you guys.
Yeah.
On WhatsApp. But I couldn't find one. But just that scene where he's like, and he's just, "Pillow."
He's just there, hanging out there.
I'm in tears. Every time I see it, I'm in tears.
Pillow.
But it's just the way, after that hard day's work, they're going back to their cell, and Gene Wilder's refusing to crack, and he's back doing the old karate, like that, and he's buzzing, full of so much energy, and he sits on the bed in like the lotus position, just meditating, and the guards are looking at him, and he's smiling, going, "Oh she," and that he is destroyed, and it is a brilliant scene. And again, they're woken up so early, and they're trying to get dressed, and they get their jeans muddled up, and they put one pair of jeans, and they both put their legs in the jeans. And it's as if they start shouting out that my legs have gone numb.
I can't feel my leg.
Oh, it's good.
And then they
It's
try and
stupid,
go for a wee, don't they? In the same toilet in the cell.
You're pissing on me.
Absolutely ruined.
And again, I love the kind of the situational comedy of this, that they've got him strung up in chains on the ceiling, and they let him down, and it looks, and it must be, and I'm sure it is, a really uncomfortable position, in like a star position.
Yeah.
And he says, "Wow, my 11-year-old back problem. You fixed it. This is brilliant. Thanks ever so much."
They actually go through a little montage of cruelty, don't they, with him? A little medley of cruelty just to try and crack him, and then they go and put him in a isolation box,
like a sweat box,
for a sweat box for 5 days. And when they open him up, they say, "Please, just one day more. I've nearly got into myself." Oh, so good.
And it does it so well. And they kind of think there's nothing that you can, or he thinks there's nothing you can do, until they go back to their cell. And you've got Richard Pryor crying, and with Grossberger standing there just staring.
You can't even make out what Richard Pryor's saying. He's like, please help me. He's wedged between Grossberger's chest and the bunk bed, isn't he? And his chest is just being crushed. He's like,
and it's just such a brilliant scene, honestly. It's done so
I left
well.
my wallet in solitary. So,
yeah. In you go.
But
predictably, the guards come back thinking, "Oh, he's going to be splattered all over the cell," or all this sort of stuff, and they're all just sitting about playing cards.
Yeah, accusing Grossberger of cheating.
Yeah, which was funny as well. Yeah. That's how well they've got to know him in that short amount of time.
Definitely.
And it was good.
And I don't think I don't know whether you guys could think of another way they could have done this. I couldn't see any other way this scene could have been played out and worked. I don't know.
No.
No, definitely not. No, it was it was predictable, but it was brilliant. At the same time, you knew what was going to happen. Generally, definitely. But it was still fantastic.
Yeah, and as you said, guys, about being expressive with your face, when he goes to meet his kind of representation the next day, that's when Gene Wilder meets Jo Beth Williams, who plays Meredith, and again he can't stop looking at her, he can't stop smiling. There's that attraction there. And it's really funny when she's talking about we're related. She goes, "Well, we're barely cousins. Like his mum was like a can dancer, and obviously shagged everyone." And this is just really well explained. And even he gets that look on his face as if like, "Yeah, you've said quite a lot that you don't really need to say already." But yeah, and it just works. And again, he talks about filing more motions, which is all he seems to know how to do. I don't know what law school he went to.
The shit one. He is awful, isn't he?
Oh, he's terrible. But she's going to get a job at a bank. Meredith is, at a bank at a bar, like a titty bar, to try and identify.
Well, no, it was a tattoo parlor first of all, wasn't it? She wanted to go for the tattoo parlor first.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, tattoo, and then she ended up working at the bar.
Oh yeah. She's going to check out the tattoo artists, and then that she reckons they hang around in the local strip joints, and that she's going to conveniently get a bar job there. And you get to the stage. Well, the other scene I forgot about, which is so random. Again, as you said earlier, Paul, it's like a montage of torture, where you got Richard Pryor, who they say, even though he's had his appendix out, they say they've grown back. He needs them out again.
Why was this even in there?
It was so random.
It was. I think this was to try and crack, wasn't it? Try and crack Gene by saying, right, we've done everything we can to Gene Wilder.
Yeah.
So, right, let's pick
Hit
on
you
his
where it
mate
hurts.
and see if they're cracked to protect him. And that's kind of what happens, isn't it? He's like, right, I'll do it. Just so you don't try and remove his appendix that you've already removed. And you don't want the Asian doctor that's only just started here because he chopped off my nut.
Yeah, Richard Pryor looks over at the guy opposite him and screams like, "What will they do to him?" And then just some bloke all bandaged up with a tube in his mouth where they were trying to force feed him because he was on a hunger strike.
Yeah, mate. It's silly, isn't it?
And he says, "Oh, at least they've got some humanity." He goes, "No, they're executing him next week." It's so funny. But,
I love it.
Gene Wilder goes back to the governor and he agrees to do it, but only obviously on the conditions that he can bring his own team. And thankfully, he says they can. Otherwise, this film just really wouldn't work after that, would it? It would be a bit strange.
No, definitely not.
And you do get, again, like more montages in this, but I like them. And again, when you've got Blade, who talks about the job of the rodeo clown, because Richard Pryor thinks the rodeo clown is just someone who goes around squirting water, giving out popcorn and shit like that. But when he finds out, and just the way this guy does it, and I've never seen him in any other films, that he's so kind of descriptive about how violent you are, and you're going to get trashed by this bull.
Blade, you got it. I'm a clown. See, I shoot the firecrackers and the soda water, and there's a little car supposed to be like 10 midgets in it. We all get out.
But that ain't no rodeo clown. A rodeo clown is the most dangerous job in the world. He's the one that gets closest to the bull. He gets the best of the bull.
I don't want to.
Hook to the left. Hook to the side.
Blade.
If the bull rider is in danger, he's got to protect him. Even if it means getting his ribs pulled out and being freight trained. Freight train? That's right. Run over, just like a freight train. Only with a bull, it's worse. Because a freight train don't back up and finish the job. Later on, I'll teach you the proper way to lie on a stretcher when they come to pick you up.
What does he say? You can steam train you or something like that? Is it steam train?
Yeah, steam train. Yeah, it's just.
Dude, watching his face is it's brilliant. But then said to him,
"Go on, mate."
No, I was going to say, and then he asked him he said to him, "You need to find the word to get that bull riled up." And he's
the word.
Trying to work the
yeah.
He's just making odd noises at it, isn't he? Barking at it and shit.
Yeah. He eventually just doesn't think he's getting anywhere. He's going, "Oh shit!" That's the word. This thing comes tearing out.
And it's quite funny. I always makes me laugh when you get like the scenes where they plan to escape already. They know what they're going to do, and you've got these people. You've got like Grossberger in the prison workshop, and obviously these are axe murderers having looks like unsupervised access to whatever they want, whatever tools, sharp objects that they want that day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a bit.
It was the 80s.
Yeah, it was 80s and A-Team, wasn't it? It was such an A-Team moment, wasn't it? Surprised they didn't have the theme on in the background.
What did you think of Grossberger's singing?
Oh, it was nice, but I didn't see the necessity of it particularly.
Maybe he said, "I'll be in the film, but I want to showcase my voice."
Yeah, it was a bit strange, wasn't it? That I mean, it's got a lovely voice. Don't get me wrong, and I don't know. I don't know whether I always read too much into these films. And was it trying to show the human side of him? That because he never talks in it, does he? This is the only time he actually talks, and whether they were trying to show another side of him, I don't know.
Randomly singing opera. I mean, how more human can you be?
Yeah. It's very weird. As I say, I don't know whether I was reading too much into that, but I thought it was really, really nice. I thought it was quite a nice touch when you get these prison songs. I quite like them, and I thought he did it really well. But as Neil said the other week, that I'm a massive girl when it comes to things like this, didn't you?
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
And that's still for you, Neil. You've got the booby scene in the strip bar as well.
Yes, some tits.
Did that recharge your energy to carry on watching this?
But it did perk me up a little bit, I have to be honest. Yeah.
Well,
You know me.
Well, I do know you very well, yeah. And conveniently, Meredith sees these tattoos and realizes that these two are definitely the bank robbers. But what I couldn't get, obviously, you've got the character, which was really strange. You've got Jack Graham, who is an ass kisser himself, who goes around with Deputy Warden Wilson all the time. I don't know whether he's got a prison cell because he seems to have free run of the prison anywhere, doesn't he? Which is completely ridiculous. And they plan between them both. They plan to kill Gene Wilder after the rodeo, don't they? But how does Meredith find this out that they're going to die? I've never been able to work that out.
No, I know. The only way I can think that is just something that's been cut from the film.
Because
I don't know.
Because she sees the tattoos and realizes, and she speaks to the girl, confirms it's those guys. So bang, that's it, that's done. These are the two robbers, and we know that Gene Wilder didn't do it. But the only people who know that they've been greenlit to be killed, or Gene Wilder has, is only the two prisoners, or the warden, the deputy, and Jack Graham's character. No one else. And I don't understand why she says we've got to race to the stadium because they're going to be killed after. That's just never explained. It's so bizarre.
Yeah.
And the rodeo. It's a really weird rodeo scene, isn't it? Like the whole thing of they've built these tools in the workshops to escape. Thankfully, they built screwdrivers and spanners that are the right size to fit all the screws.
Say that, yeah.
Yes, yeah, it was
You'd be
fortunate.
gutted, wouldn't you?
Yeah, because they're completely enclosed as well, aren't they? They're not like open-ended spanners or anything like that. They're
no,
exactly to
they
the
made them out of the spurs, didn't they? They made them out of the spurs on the back of the shoes.
It was lucky. Luckily, they didn't build like a Phillips screwdriver when it was a flat one.
Oh, gee, they'd be fucked, wouldn't they? Jesus. Could you imagine?
Yeah.
It would have been. And it did make me laugh. And it's they kind of have the rodeo, and you've got the two prison, like the governors sitting up in the stands. And all of the people who are prisoners actually are prisoners in real life. These are all the extras, the 200 extras that come out of the prison. And the idea is that once they have their bet, obviously, as we spoke about earlier, and it ends up with it's in a draw. That's all it is. And they have like a showdown. They put 50 grand on this massive ball, which is totally aggressive and a mental monster. And you've got to get it off. And
pardon?
The one of them's got to get pulled off.
Jesus.
I know.
Did we start watching a different film?
I watched the extended edition.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
right.
and it's on that one.
You know, in that scene, you know, we in See No Evil, in the car scene, we were joking about Gene Wilder's wig because it didn't look like him. That scene in the ring with the ball, from every angle, that looked like Gene Wilder. It looked like he was actually in there with that ball.
Did you think so? I was laughing today that it didn't look like him.
Really?
God, yeah.
Maybe I need to change my prescription. But no, I thought it did.
Were you watching it on one of those 80s, like 6-inch TVs? Jesus Christ, it really doesn't look like him. What did you think, Neil?
No. There is no way on earth.
It looked more like...
Hang on a minute. Oh, I just clean my glasses. I thought it did, okay. Fair.
The really close-ups where they're clearly not riding the bulls, then yes. But when it's being thrown, no.
But so the idea is that, as I say, it's a draw in the end, and they put this 50 grand on top of the bull's head. And whilst they're doing this, the member, three out of the four of them actually do escape. And there's been no talk about plans, but they know where to go. And it's just the escape is the worst part in this. And I know you can't look a lot into it because it's just for shits and giggles of why they're doing it. But obviously, we're a podcast. We've got the platform. We can slate whatever we like.
That's true. And we do regularly.
And we do regularly, yeah. We've got 166 other podcasts that you can listen to where that happens. But I would have loved to have seen a bit more about the planning of what's going to happen and how they're going to do this, because they're climbing across like air shafts, like air conditioning units and stuff like that. And they seem to know where to go, and I've got no idea why. It's bollocks, isn't it?
Yeah, because doesn't one of them lead string around, don't they? So the rest know where to go. So clearly one of them knows the layout, because obviously the old school ones that have been there for a long time clearly know the ins and outs of this rodeo because they've done it before.
Is that what he's doing, leading string around?
Yeah.
I never saw that at all.
No, I don't remember seeing that.
I swear he is, and then because they're unraveling the string in the cell, aren't they? And I'm like, what's the relevance of that? And then I swear he's leading string through it, so they know where to go.
Because when you've got that the transvestite one who has got that kind of white wire, but he's holding that and that's wrapped up, and I don't know. It's really weird because when he's climbing through it, it's still kind of coiled up in his hand. But the string bit would make complete sense. But I suppose then you've got the risk of the guards finding it. I honestly don't know. And I do like
how I saw it.
the saw they make out of the broom head. Utter nonsense, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it cuts so easily as well. It's like butter.
That did make me laugh. You've got to be really quiet, but you're sawing through 2 bits of like 4x2 wood.
It's a great tool, though, isn't it?
It's fantastic.
It is a massive
saw.
I want to get one.
You saw it up and then just broom it away.
You know what? She needs to patent that. We'll make millions.
Yeah,
it is genius, isn't it?
A saw broom.
But I mean, just looking at this now, you are spot on, Neil. It's the first time in about 20 times. I can see that cable now. He's leading everyone there.
Well done, me.
Well done, you. Fantastic. Which is why I love you.
Oh,
that is absolutely brilliant. And you've got Jesus's family. It's his wife and wife's friends, or whether their family, kind of outside with their like stand that they push along, looking really suspicious because they only ever put it one place up against a wall. And they climb out, and they're in this they climb inside this stand, and they're wheeled to like a caravan. And you've got Richard Pryor, who ends up dressing like a cowboy, who looks really suspicious, and the transvestite dresses up as a woman. And they lock both the bathrooms whilst this is happening, of a rodeo with loads of police and prison guards and loads of prisoners.
Yeah, convenient, isn't it, that no one tries to come in to use the lavatory while they're getting changed, and there's not a queue outside either when they leave.
Yeah, and no one's asking questions. Yeah, they've kind of just concentrated on the story rather than the actual actions of what's happening and the build up to it by now.
Just a little bit.
I think that they must be thinking there's 18 minutes left of this film. Let's just fucking crack on.
Yeah, let's wrap this up.
Let's get to the end.
Hence why the end is what it is, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And he lets this other guy from the other prison, and I love what he says to him about the conversation and when people say you're an ass kisser, and the way he's trying to twist his mind of saying, well, I'm not an ass kisser. He goes, I didn't say you're an ass kisser. It's just what people have said because we're the idiots here who's doing this for the wardens when they get the money and no one else profits. He tells him, you get the money and chuck it in the crowd. And I like the fact that he actually did it. The other guy gets it, stitches him up, and then he throws that 50 grand into the crowd with the prisoners. Not that it's going to go very far because they're all going to end up going back to prison anyway.
Getting searched on the way in.
And I don't. Yeah.
Go on, mate.
I don't see the necessity other than to say screw you, warden. But quite frankly, why would this guy from another prison, who's clearly been doing this rodeo for years, because he's like been 6 year in a row champion or whatever, fuck up his own good life in prison just for this crazy weirdo that he's just met?
Yeah, it's really strange, isn't it?
It is. Why, you know, if you just met someone and you're a convict and you're clearly going to be inside for years and years, and someone turns around, oh, why didn't you do this? Yeah, that's a fucking brilliant idea. You know, I'm just going to screw myself over for you.
Yeah.
No.
Because it would have been better if Gene Wilder would have won it, and then he would have escaped.
But I suppose it was maybe it was, I mean, he didn't want to win it, so the other guy, it took the heat off him, I guess, because if he threw the money into the crowd and won it, and then they would have been rushing after to kick his ass, wouldn't they?
It's a good distraction for Gene Wilder, wasn't it?
Yeah, it made no sense because you would never do it, but it was a good, like you just said, it was a good distraction for him to get away with it.
Yeah, and while they do that, as you said, Gene Wilder does escape, and he follows the same path because, as Neil fantastically and thankfully pointed out, there is string there, so he knows where to go. God, in 1980, I've started watching this film, and it's 2021, and I've just found that out. This is why I love doing the podcast for you guys. Honestly, it's so good. I'll find out about Darth Vader being the father of Luke Skywalker soon, possibly. Allegedly.
What?
I know. We'll talk about that after the podcast. I know.
Please don't.
But Gene Wilder escapes. So that's all of them have gone. You've got Jesus, Gene Wilder, Richard Pryor's gone, and now you've got Rory's gone as well. And they all escape. And they make it back, and as they're on their way back, they cross paths with both of their solicitors, who's after them, obviously concerned that they're going to be killed when it's somehow they know that, which is never disclosed. And at the end of it, they all go their separate ways, and they meet their counsel. They meet Meredith, who's being driven, who doesn't seem too impressed about it. They meet Len as well, and she says that we found the girls. We know you didn't do it. The girls who identified these two bank robbers, and that you're free. But they're not, are they?
No.
That's the massive thing about this, that she says you're free to go, you've been exonerated. No one's decided this apart from the solicitors. Yeah, and you've escaped prison.
Yeah, and you've let two other convicts who were murderers escape prison.
Yeah.
But drive off, carry on. You're free. I found this. I was just watching it going, what the fuck? Well, obviously, 1980, was it different, the law in America then? I doubt it.
I doubt it.
It was, they clearly needed to wrap this film up, didn't they? And fast, because it's
really strange, isn't it?
That,
because A, it's not explained how she knew they were going to die. B, that they are escaped convicts in that, as we know, that in their mind they were aware they were committing that offence, so they've committed that offence, and until they're exonerated by the same judge or whoever who put them in prison, they're still on the run, and it's such a weird ending, isn't it? It's really strange of all the things they did. I mean, how they could have done it a different way, I must admit, I don't know off the top of my head, but of all the ways. This was bollocks.
I think it would have been good if they said, look, you're free, we need to get you back, and basically see a sketch of them going back into the prison or into the rodeo and not getting caught or something like that, and then them being released from prison or something, and he then meets up with her or what have you, and they all drive off into the sunset. Granted, it would have added an extra 10 minutes to the film, but it would have given it a lot more credibility.
Even a short scene with the two solicitors in the courtroom, where it's actually you've got it confirmed they are actually free, and they go to give them the message.
Yeah, definitely.
And how do they know to find them at the rodeo again?
I don't know.
No.
It's because they never spoke about the rodeo, did they? In all the meetings they had, they never spoke about it, like they never spoke about the murder. And I think you're right, guys, that if they would have gone to the courthouse and forget about the murder part, because that's nonsense, and just the judge said, bang, stamp a bit of paper, whatever they do, you're exonerated, you're free, and she takes that bit of paper to him and gives it to him and says, there you go, you're free. That would have, I think you're right. I think that would have worked better than the fact that I've just decided you're free. I've done my own investigation, and now let's drive off into the sunset.
Even when they drive off into the sunset, there's still that uneasy feeling inside you. Are you thinking they're wanted men because they just escaped from prison?
Yeah, they have aided and abetted two other convicts.
Prison
quite happily.
It's unreal, isn't it? That you know that as soon as they go into a bank or something like that, they're just going to get nicked instantly. To say, oh, by the way, you've escaped prison and let two other you help aided and abetted two other people leaving, escaping. It's nonsensical. But there again, like we said, I think that by this point they probably just, you know what, we just need to wrap this up, and they sort of forego those sort of points that people look at. But maybe people looked at people looked at things differently back then. I don't know.
I think you're right, mate. I think it was like a fairy tale ending where let's sort of think about how wonderful it is rather than try and explain it, think about it. And obviously it must have had that good impact, because with the cheap budget that it was, it ended up making $101 million dollars back in 1980. Absolutely huge film.
That's massive.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane. And I should imagine through video and DVD and things like that, it's gone on to make possibly much more than that. I mean, I bought this from Amazon ages ago. So, yeah, that's absolutely incredible. But yeah, so that is 1980s stir crazy. So, Paul, tell me, what are you thinking?
Love it still. I mean, you've got the technical issues, technical inconsistencies throughout certainly the latter part of the film, and yeah, all the points that everyone's mentioned about, there's overacting a bit here and there and the other, but at the end of the day, it gets dark. No, at the end of the day, it's still oh my God, it's still a cracking film, and it's an easy watch. And we sit and watch it to critique it, but I've seen it a ton of times before. I've watched it the other day, and that's just purely for enjoyment. To sort of like suck up all the humour and the two characters that Richard and Jean portray, and yeah, they're great. So I thoroughly enjoy it.
Excellent. Out of 5, what would you give it, my friend?
I'd probably give it. I'd give it a safe 4.
And you've seen the 3 films now, so how would you rate these 3 films with regards to Silver Streak? I've seen it with no evil on this one.
Silver Streak's a long film. More of a mystery, isn't it? Silver Streak.
Yeah.
It's like a murder mystery on top of a comedy as well. I would say See No Evil at the top. Then I would say, let me think of Silver Streak. I'd probably say Silver Streak is my least favourite. I'd say See No Evil at the top, Stir Crazy, and then Silver Streak.
Fair
That's
play.
where I sit 'em.
Fair play. Neil, what about yourself, my friend?
Yeah, like I said, I struggled with this in parts. I can get on board with it because it is what it is. It is these two guys being nuts in a really ridiculous sort of situation, which it is. But yeah, I think yes, I did enjoy it. I have to be honest, I had to watch it in a couple of parts because I was just it was one of those days when I sat down to watch it and I just couldn't get into the flow. But since we've been talking about it, it's really made me appreciate it a bit more, to be honest. But yeah, I'd recommend it. I wouldn't go into it thinking, oh my God, this is going to be hilarious, because I think it does fall down in a few areas, like we spoke about, the overacting, the massive plot holes and stuff like that, and it's fairly predictable in places. But that being said, it still has some absolutely hilarious parts in it, and the jokes are brilliant. And I was sat there actually laughing out loud. It was good. I'd probably give it a 3 out of 5.
No, that's fair.
To be fair, I don't think it's their best work. I think it's up there, but See No Evil, Hear No Evil is just so much better than this. For me. But yeah, I think you should watch it if you're a fan of these two. But if you're not, then there's not much point. If you see what I mean, I don't think it's aged well.
No, it's dated. 100%. It's dated. Definitely.
I reckon that if you think about these two characters and their comedy, I reckon there's a bunch of sticky scenarios that they could have been put into, that would have made really good films back in the 80s. You know, for them to make 3 films and Nothing Until 91 together,
Yeah.
I think there's a bunch of scripts that could have been written for them. Similar characters, but the humour worked, didn't it? So I just think
it did. But can you have too much of a good thing?
Yeah, I don't mean like flood the market with it. I mean just like the odd, a couple of films, just in different scenarios, different situations, maybe. Maybe it's just me being greedy for more of their humour. I don't know.
There's nothing wrong with that, is there? There's nothing, because it is, if you enjoy it and they are good together, there's nothing wrong with it. But my fear would be it would just be the same two people doing very similar things in just a slightly different situation. And probably for them both, they probably thought we want to be more than that.
Yeah.
If you see what I mean.
Yeah.
Potentially. What about you, Stu? What did you think?
Yeah, I love this film. It's hard to you have to distinguish from the nostalgia to when you're actually doing it, reading it or watching it. Sorry, and I love this film. It has dated a hell of a lot, but I love the stupid humor. I think they work together so well. It's a lovely, easy film to watch. It's like a Sunday afternoon film that you can just sit and watch, and you can go out the room and play on your phone or whatever you do, and it will just still keep you amused. I don't think it's as good as See No Evil, Hear No Evil. I thought it would be because I hadn't seen it for a long time, but definitely what we did the other week was a stronger film, with this in second place and probably Silver Streak before that. But I'd give it a 4 out of 5, and I'd recommend it. And it's just a nice film to watch. I love these two together and the chemistry, and it's a film you can dip in and out probably every year. If it was on I'd watch it if I was flicking and I'd come across it. But yeah, it's a nice film, good moments, and the stupid humor when you're going into prison, doing the karate, being bad. I love that. And it's just something I can watch again and again. And the bad bits are just some of the bits, the plot holes, when you really look into it, as we spoke about at the end in depth, that they did still break the law and they would get arrested. And the escape from the rodeo is just so over the top and convenient, but they're just kind of plot drivers for the next gag that's going to happen. But I love it. I'd recommend it. It would come with warnings that it is old and it has dated, but I'd quite confidently recommend it. But yeah, it's good. So
on Netflix.
Yeah, available on Netflix in the UK at the moment. I don't know how long, but next week we are doing something very scary for Paul. We are leaving the 1980s. We are going to 1999.
We haven't done Best Bits, Worst Bits yet, Stu.
Best Bits, Worst Bits. What, for that film? Yeah, I did.
You did?
Okay.
Yes. Oh my God, it makes such good listening, doesn't it? Young
Honestly,
man. I'm not going to repeat it again.
I didn't do my
you.
Best Bits, Worst Bits.
Oh, go on then. If it really means that much,
Yeah,
go on
it does.
then.
Yeah, best bit, pillow. Worst bit. Worst bit, plot hole at the end.
Yes.
There you go.
There you go. I was expecting more than that with the tantrum you had beforehand.
No, I'm a happy man now.
I want my say.
I'm a happy man now.
I'll get my butler to send you a nude email.
Nanny! Nanny! Stuart, stop playing!
Brilliant. But, as I said, we are leaving the 1980s. We are talking Lana Wachowski. We're talking Lily Wachowski. We're talking Neo, Morpheus, Trinity, Agent Smith, and Cypher and the Oracle. That's right. We are doing The Matrix, and I am so excited. It's your choice, Neil, and a brilliant choice. I cannot wait to watch this film again, to look at the bottom of Carrie-Anne Moss when she's swinging on that rope. And we haven't done this film. We've been doing this podcast for 14 years, and we haven't done this film. And I'm so pleased that we can do it. Hopefully James will be back. Hopefully Rav will be back. We can get all 5 of us to talk about this film, because it's groundbreaking, and there's so much to talk about. It's everyone just listen next week, tell your mates about it, watch The Matrix. It's just going to be so good, isn't it? What is it on, Neil? Is it on Amazon or is it on Netflix?
I think excuse me, I think it's on Prime, so it's on Amazon.
Prime, fantastic.
Yeah, Because I think as well, I saw today on Twitter that they've announced Matrix 4, so that'll be interesting.
That will be interesting. Probably even harder to understand than Matrix 3, I hope, which made me feel like a complete dick. But I can't wait next week to talk about this. It's just going to be really interesting. It's going to be good because, Paul, have you seen The Matrix?
No. My only understanding of Matrix was a dot matrix, and that was back in the 80s.
You know, I cannot wait. I knew you hadn't seen this
Dot
film.
matrix.
I reckon
I'm
about
looking forward to it.
90% of the population have seen The Matrix.
Yeah,
definitely.
And Paul, who lives and visits cinemas where they still play the piano at the start and hasn't seen this. Oh, it's going to be so good. I used to have this slide phone in this film when I was working. Yeah,
I
had
always wanted one of those.
Man, it's sick. Seriously, it's proper good. But yeah, I'm buzzing about this. This is so good. So next week, it's 1999. It's The Matrix. So be there. But has anyone got anything else they want to say at all before we put this podcast to bed?
No.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure as always. And like Stu said earlier, thank you for everyone that listens to us. We do really, really, really appreciate it because we do know we talk a lot of shit. So the fact that you like listening to us is fantastic. So thank you.
Definitely. And check out the YouTube channel. It's the Film Reel Cast. All the podcasts we do are on that YouTube channel. There's a few other things. If you like the Cobra Kai and if you like Mandalorian, if you like Falcon the Winter Soldier, there's lots of separate Marvel things on there as well that we've spoken about. So check that out and subscribe, and that will be absolutely amazing. That's growing as well. But
plus, you get to see Stu's face and fuck his fit.
There's a reason.
So you can rub one out while you watch him and listen to him. It's just a winner.
I'm pleased to say I've lost 3 stones since I've actually been on video and done this. So
I'm not interested anymore now.
I'm 3 stone lighter now, honestly, and that doesn't involve cutting any of my appendages off to actually do that. So,
what? Are you talking about your cock again?
Jesus, no. But on that wonderful note, we'll end it here. Thanks everyone for listening. Come back next week. As I say, we've got The Matrix. Take care of yourself. I hope you've enjoyed this, and we'll be back very soon. Goodbye.
Down in the valley so low, hang your head over, hear the wind blow, hear the wind blow low.